Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is the guys' trip. You know, when fellas get together and they go somewhere and they just kick it, hang out, act the damn fool. I came to this idea of a podcast after listening to a recent episode of the We Did That Shit podcast with Babi and Maya. Shout out to Babi and Maya. Those my homegirls. Love listening to them. They did actually two episodes, but the first episode I listened to was, I think it was episode 78 on their podcast. The We Did That Shit podcast. You can catch it on all streaming platforms. And what they talked about was a recent girls trip that they went on. And I'm sorry, what Maya went on a recent girls trip. And Maya enjoyed the trip because her sister was on the trip, but you know, there was some downsides to the trip. And I would encourage all of you who are listening, once you finish listening to this podcast, go and check that one out. It is hilarious. But as I was listening, I found myself really doing a lot of nodding and agreeing with Maya. Um, it's hard when you travel with people other than your family. And to be honest, sometimes it can be hard to travel with family. Going on destination trips and things of that nature. Um, it's not really hard for me to travel with my family because my wife and I, we have 4 kids. So the kids pretty much are in line for the most part. But I will say, and I say this all the time, the hardest thing that we do as a family is to get everybody to sit still to take a picture. That is like the hardest. So if you see like a selfie of us, just know that it took probably about 20 minutes just to get that one selfie off. But anyway, yeah, Maya had me cracking up throughout the episode because, she expressed her frustrations with, going somewhere with, other people, friends, um, and things of that nature. And, there are positives and negatives. So I wanted to bring my spin on my thoughts on a guy's trip. Uh, there are pros and cons to them all, but I think, more than anything else, you have to have an idea of one, what it is that you want to do, two, where you want to go, and three, can you afford to do it and have fun with the people that you're going with. I think once you establish all of those things, then that makes it a little bit easier. But traveling is always a tricky thing, and it's even more trickier now, because we're still in a global pandemic. So the Rona's out there, and you want to be safe, obviously, but it could be an issue. But like I said, I wanted to get on here and talk about some of my experiences and talk about a guy's trip, if you will. Um, I guess I probably should start with the pros. The pros, uh, one, if you're going on a guy's trip, you're able to bond with the fellas, right? Uh, if you're like me, being married and having a family, being able to get away from your family uh, for a couple of days or a week or so, it's always a cool moment. And it's something that when it happens, I like to be in the present and be in that moment because I don't have many moments away, and it's not like it's not like my family's a dragon. I love my family, and I love being around them, and I love it when we're all together, especially considering the fact that our oldest two are in college. Um, but having that time away from them, obviously is fun, but it also makes me miss them more, when I get get back to them. Um, but being away and being with the fellas, that's always a cool thing, because there is a such thing as male bonding. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. And the conversations and the experiences that you have with your fellas on a guy's trip are invaluable. It could be something as simple as maybe one person in the group might be going through, or maybe two or three people might be going through something. It may be something that you've gone through. Especially when I consider the fact that, me and most of my friends are married or have been married, um, and are, fathers. So we have already, outside of our friendships, we have, you know, uh, the ability to bond on those levels. So one thing I will say is, fellas, if you go on a guy's trip, you definitely need to be going with people that you can connect with. Uh, because there's nothing worse than going someplace and paying to go someplace, to a destination. You say, okay, hey, we're going to Vegas. And I'm using Vegas as an example. There's nothing worse than going on a trip and you realize 10 minutes into the trip that you ain't feeling Kelvin. Like Kelvin is the asshole. And you're like, oh man, we gotta deal with this dude. And a word to the wise, fellas, I would probably try to keep the guys trip uh at a certain number. And so, like, if they're, let's just say, if they're a crew of friends, if they're a crew of friends of 7, then you probably need to keep that at 7. When you start inviting other people who aren't in the crew of 7, it can become problematic. Um and I'll give you an example. Like, if I've got, let's say my crew is 10 deep. I got a 10 deep crew, right? We're 10 deep. And then I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go to Cancun. Let's just use Cancun. We're going to Cancun, fellas. We're going to hang out. We're going to play golf. We're going to, go swimming, fishing, the whole nine, check out the sights, whatever, whatever. It's probably not in my best interest to invite my boy Jay Fresh. Not that Jay Fresh couldn't go to Cancun and have a good time and ball out of control, but that ain't really his thing. So for me to invite him to some place with some people that he doesn't really know, and the only common theme initially is just me, it's probably not a good idea. Because one or two things are going to happen. Jay Fresh might get there and he might start complaining, or, he may rub somebody the wrong way. And you just want to make sure that, fellas, when you have a guys trip, because you're going to bond, you want to keep it within the people that you know. Can it work when you involve people that you don't really know like that? Yeah, it could definitely work. I wouldn't recommend it though. I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. Um, but yeah, those bonding sessions and just spending time, that's invaluable. And more often than not, a guy's trip will allow you to, you know, experience things and create more life memories and life stories. And the one thing I've realized in my time here on this earth is that I've collected quite a few life stories. uh, Quite a few of them I've told on this podcast. Some that will never ever reach the air of this podcast. But um, yeah, so it's probably best to keep the guy's trip to a minimum as far as the number of people that you invite. But I will say this, and it's no shade, right? That means it's about to be some shade. Uh, I think women probably should really take heed to this, because guys normally, more often than not, can get along and not really have a lot of issues with other guys, particularly guys that they don't know. But it's kind of a slippery slope when you're doing a girls trip and you're inviting people that everybody doesn't know or everybody's not friends with. Everybody ain't in the crew. So again, that could be a very slippery slope. But again, we're talking about guys. So let's go back to guys. But yeah, bonding, being able to create more life stories and life experiences, I think that's invaluable, especially for men, especially as we get older. Um, because what happens is, and what I found in my time and my travels is that those stories, become legendary, and those stories get told over and over and over again. Like, um, it wasn't a guy's trip, but you know, one of the first podcasts that I did on this podcast, when I talked about my experiences when I got drunk at my homeboy Rudy's bachelor party. Um, and I mean, like, that story still lives on. Like, I've told the story on the podcast. This is probably like the second or third episode that I did on this podcast. Go back and listen to it if you want a good laugh. It's called The Last Time That I Got Drunk. But my boys and I, we still laugh about this. And the stories have, while the story around me getting drunk hasn't changed, some of the extra stories, some stuff that I don't even remember, always get thrown into the mix. So guys trips are always good to, like I said, create memories and life stories. Um the cons to guys trips, I think one of the cons, you have to look at yourself first and foremost. Like, I always look within before I look at others. um I know that I'm stuck in my ways, right? uh I am willing, more often than not, I'm willing to go with the crowd, but if it's not something that I want to do, I'm not gonna do it. And I'm quick to say, man, I'm not doing that shit. And so that can become problematic for some people, you know. But and again, it fellas, it really depends on who you take on this guy's trip, because like my crew, my like, you know, not no examples here. I'm just, if I'm speaking just strictly on my crew that I grew up with. Um, yeah, with them, no, I'm rolling with them. Like, pretty much most of the stuff we're gonna do, we're pretty like minded individuals, so it's not really gonna be on some, hey, let's do this, and I don't want to do it. But um, I'm stuck in my ways. So I would need to know first and foremost, what are we doing? What are we doing? Where are we going? Who are we going with? Who's going to be there? So forth and so on. And here's the thing: when you're planning a guy's trip, part of a guy's trip is just relaxing. Now I don't want to just sit around and just everybody just on Twitter all day and on their phones, and we're not doing something. I mean, we could do that at home, but I also don't want to do too much to where I'm tired and I need a vacation from the vacation. When I'm on vacation, I want to relax. I want to relax. I don't want to think about anything but chilling. I want to engage in, you know, adult beverages, and I want to kick it. So that's it. I don't need much else. I don't need a huge itinerary either. If we go to France, damn it, we're going to France. And we want to do certain things and see certain places, but I don't have to, uh go see the, I don't know, Leaning Tower of Pisa. I mean, would it be cool to see it? Yeah, but I'm not gonna tire myself out just to go see it. But yeah, so I'm stuck in my ways, so I have to keep that in mind. So fellas, understand what your goals and your limitations are. Uh, Understand where you are as far as what it is that you like and don't like, and never sign up for anything that you don't like. If you go to, I don't know, like Essence Festival. I know a lot of guys that have done guys trips to Essence Festival. If you go to Essence Festival, Essence Festival is a huge black festival every year that's held in New Orleans. And New Orleans is a great city, right? if you go to Essence Festival, have a plan. But now don't 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 agree to go see Lionel Richie if you don't want to see Lionel Richie. If you want to go see New Edition, damn it, go see New Edition. Don't agree to stuff that you don't want to do. The one thing that I've learned also that is definitely a con is folks, particularly guys, we don't move the same. Yeah, we don't move the same. Like, and I'll give you an example. Like, I am a early bird. I'm someone who I don't sleep in. I'm up early, and I was like this. I've been like this since college. Like, even at South Carolina State University, where I went to school. Shout out to the alma mater. If I came in at 3, I'd be up at 8. If I came in at 4, I'd be up at 8. Like, I'm up early. Like, so even now, like, even on the weekends, like, I may not even have something to do early in the morning or take a kid anywhere or something like that, but I'm still up at like 7:30, sometimes 6:30. And then, I mean, if I go to bed at 11 o'clock, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've gotten enough rest. But everybody don't move the same. So where I'm an early bird, you may have somebody, fellas, in your guys trip crew who don't move the same. And they're thinking, okay, well, hey, I'm not at home. So I don't have to worry about my wife. I'm not at home. I don't have to worry about my kids. So I'm gonna get up at 11. Well, now that's a problem for me because I'm trying to get in the streets or go wherever we're trying to go. I'm not trying to wait on you to wake up. That's gonna be a problem. So everybody doesn't move the same. You know, my boy Mo, you guys have heard him on here before. Um, I always mess with Mo because Mo always has to iron his shirt. I mean, like, so that's the running joke. Like, even when I was one a groomsman in his wedding, um, I told him he'd be late to his own wedding because he had to iron his shirt. He wasn't late, but he could have been because he had to iron his shirt. He's always ironing his shirt. And then it's not that I'm opposed to ironing a shirt, but like that's always like Mo has to take a shower. I mean, we all take showers, but he has to get fly. And like his process of getting fly, I'm not against anybody getting fly. Hell, I'm fly when I step out the door. But I do it in a timely fashion. Mo, it might take Mo an hour to get ready. And then getting ready, he's checking his phone, he's watching TV, he's doing this. I just know Mo moves slower. So, like, even now, if Mo came to town and if we were going to hang out, if I wanted Mo to be somewhere at 10 o'clock, I'd tell him 9 o'clock. Because if I tell him 9 o'clock, he'll be there at 10. So, I just know just because we've been running since South Carolina State that, he needs an hour buffer. Shout out to Mo. That's my dog. But yeah, so everybody don't move the same. And everybody doesn't move with a sense of purpose and necessarily a sense of urgency. So, for someone like me who's an early riser, who's always kind of on the go, that could be problematic for someone who isn't. So yeah, everybody don't move the same. What else is a con? Oh, cost. And again, I got to shout out Maya because Maya on that episode, she did a very good job of speaking about her disdain to a degree for someone that was in their traveling party and the girls trip party. But she didn't call the she didn't call the person, I don't know who the person is, but she didn't call the person broke, but it was like, you know, I guess they didn't have money to go to a specific place or whatever like that. And Maya was just like, well, she had planned to, like, here's my thing. Like, if you go on a guy's trip or a vacation trip or whatever, destination or vacation, whatever you call it, have the money to go. Because here's the thing. I don't care where you go, you're gonna spend money wherever you go. My motto, anytime you leave the house, you're spending money. And I wish I had time to talk about how this is the our first summer outside, and gas is a gazillion dollars, and you're spending like a grand a day just by leaving the house. But that's another story for another day. Um, but yeah, Maya, she did a good job of not necessarily pointing the finger, but she was very articulate about how she was a little displeased with one of their friends who just didn't have it. So if they didn't have the money to go to a specific place, then that kind of excluded them. But Maya felt like, hey, that's on you. Hey, I plan to go to here, so this is where I'm going. So um costs, fellas, some guys got it, some guys don't, you know. But my thing is, and I know stuff happens financially. I mean, we've all been there. But I would not suggest going on a guy's trip if um you don't have the bread, the fetty, the lucchini, the skrilla, the paper, whatever whatever 90s term you want to use for money, uh you can use it there. Um yeah, it that kills everything. So like if we do a guy's trip, and I'll use Vegas, and we say we're going to go play golf. Well, golf is not it's not a cheap sport, right? I mean, like, you got your green fees, you got your card, you got, I mean, hell, if we go there and you don't take your own clubs, so you're gonna have to rent some clubs. So, you know, you could spend a couple of $100 easily on a round of golf. And that's cool. I mean, that's what you do. But, you know, I you can't play golf with $20 in your pocket. I'm sorry. And so, like, for the record, I've never been to Vegas, but uh me and my friends have talked about a potential guys trip to Vegas. And I always wanted to, if and when we do, I shouldn't say if, because we're going to go, when we go to Vegas, I do want to play golf. So, because I've heard they have some beautiful golf courses out there. But no, I mean, I'll have a couple of dollars to pay for the golf. But yeah, I mean, like, fellas, don't don't go on a guy's trip if you don't have the money to go on a guy's trip, because that kind of changes things. Maybe someone may have to lend you some money. Um, it's it's not a good look, man. It's not. Uh, Another con is, at least for me, I realize, like, I can get tired of people. Not my friends, but I can get tired of people. And there's never a time, because I don't. Most of my friends, my closest friends, don't live here in Atlanta where I live. So it could be months before we see each other again. So I'm always happy to see them, and I'm always happy to hang. Even with my friends that live here, I'm always happy to see them, always happy to hang, and I'm never tired of them. But I can get tired of people um relatively quickly. I can get tired of being around people. I could be like, all right, you know what? It's time to go to the crib. So that's just me. It's not something that I would verbalize. I wouldn't act nasty or anything like that, but I can get tired of people. And I can get tired of a scene. Like, if we're just sitting around and we're not doing anything, nah, man, I'm not. I'm out. I ain't about to do that, man. So I can get tired of people. It's something that I recognize. So if we're doing a guy's trip and you bring along your cousin Reggie, I probably could get tired of Reggie, especially if Reggie's saying dumb shit and acting fool, acting like he's 22 years old and he's 47. Um, yeah, I probably could get tired of him. Or sometimes, you do a guy's trip, and then you realize, maybe not with your friends, but if there are other people, you realize, like, hey, I really don't have much in common with this person. Why am I talking to him? And so that happens. It happens. And if we're being honest, it probably happens a lot more than what we would like to believe, right? So I can get tired of people. And also, and probably the other con is, I know, at least for me, I want what I want and I do what I want to do. Um, so if I go shopping, if I want something, I'm gonna buy it. And if I want to go over here, if we take a guy's trip to New York City, if I want to go visit the Statue of Liberty, that's where I'm going. Not that I would, but if I want to go to Times Square, that's where I'm going. Like I'm not bound by anything when I'm on a trip or a guy's trip. So whatever it is I want to do, I want to do. Now I'm not gonna, if the crew says, okay, well, hey, uh we're going to Times Square, and I'm like, oh, well, I want to go see the Yankees. I'm not gonna ditch the crew, even though going to see the Yankees is way better than going to Times Square. I'm not going to ditch the crew and be the soloist, and just do that. But if I want to do something, I want to do it. And I think sometimes on a guy's trip, fellas, that can kind of get in the way if you allow it to. So just know what you want to do and go about how you want to go about executing it. Who would I go on a guy's trip with? I would definitely go on a guy's trip with my crew that I grew up with. Um, I would definitely do that. Outside of my crew, um, all my boys from college, yeah, I would definitely do it with them. Um, Other than that, I don't know. A guy's trip, because I mean, outside of that, if I'm not going with my partners that I grew up with, my crew, and or my partners from school, um, I'm probably not gonna do a guy's trip outside of those people. Um, and it's because like I probably it's probably not worth it to me because one of these cons are gonna get get in the way. One of these cons will get in the way. Um, could I do a couples trip? Well, no, well, no. If it's a couples trip, it's not a guys trip. Yeah, yeah. I'll stand on that. Guys trips. Now I'll do a couples trip. That's different because that means I'm with my wife. Um, and we always have fun wherever we go. But um, as far as a guys trip, yeah, it'll probably just be my boys that I grew up with and my partners from school. That's it. I'm not. I'm probably not doing. Probably not going anywhere outside of that. Um, I've had some experiences over in the past. Like me, we've talked about it on this podcast before. Uh, my crew that I grew up with, we used to go to Charlotte every year for the CIAA basketball tournament. Um, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. We always had a ball doing that. And it was one. I remember one year we went to a party one night, like Friday night, and then the idea was to go to a day party the next day. So we had to get up. So we hung out pretty late. I think we got in like maybe about 3, and then the next day was a day party, and that we had to be at the spot at like noon. And it wasn't far, but you get in at 3, get up, get breakfast, shower, and the whole nine. But we kind of went hard the night before, so getting up was like the issue. And getting up and trying to get everybody out of there on time so we could, because my thing, I'm a huge stickler for time. I think I've talked about this before in the podcast. Like, yeah, I'm big on time. Like my old high school football coach, Coach Wells, rest in peace. He would always say, you gotta have a respect for time. He said, time waits for no man, and that always stuck with me. So like, if I have to be somewhere, then in my mind, I have a clock in my head. Okay, well, what time do I need to leave? What time do I need to get up? I'm always like that, and that's with anything. That's with work, no matter what. Because and I hate being somewhere late. Even the movies. If I'm going to the 5 o'clock movie, I want to be there at 4:25. I don't mind sitting and waiting, but I hate being late. So yeah, so I realized like, us, we just didn't move at the same pace, particularly after a night of going hard. But it was funny though, it just trying to get everybody together. Um, but yeah, we those are some things that, and me and the fellas we've talked about, um, doing a guys trip somewhere else because we haven't done one in a while, and I would definitely be down for it, no matter where it was. Uh, I've I haven't done well, no, that wasn't a destination. There's been some talk amongst me and some of my former football players about doing a destination guys trip somewhere. Um, we'll see. I don't know about that. I'm not sure if um I guess it would depend on where it was gonna be and what all we were doing. Um I think that probably would weigh into my decision whether or not I go. I'm gonna be honest, keep it a bean with y'all. Um and what I've found over these last few years is that I've really enjoyed my solo trips. It ain't often that I've had them, but my solo trips, man, you guys know I went to LA was it almost 2 years ago for my birthday. And I was out in LA for a week and I had a ball, you know. Um one of the few times where I've been able to move and maneuver. Now, granted, we were in the middle of a pandemic, so but it was a lot of fun just being, solo dolo. But so there'll be more of those trips planned. I honestly I got to get back out to LA. I got to go check Baylor, man. Shout out to Baylor. Um, but yeah, it's guys trips. Yeah, you got to be very careful about that, fellas. I would definitely recommend doing it. But more importantly, it's very important as to who you do it with, because uh, there could be one apple that could spoil it all for a guy's trip. And but if you're traveling and you're kicking it with people that you know and you love, everything more often than not should work out. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys